And it's time for a trader chat with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. We're going to look back on the good thing obliging at Doncaster in the big race and cementing his place as Derby favourite next year. Bit of a mixed set of results really at Cheltenham. Some good for punters, some bad. We have a lot of Formula 1 to talk about as well. Really exciting race, the Formula 1 Championship this year. Bit of cricket thrown in, and the Premier League just goes from bad to worse really for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who somehow picked the same team that was dismantled by Atlanta in the first half against Liverpool and got an absolute hiding. Flynn, what's going on?
Well, loads, Johnny. As you've just mentioned, we were at Cheltenham at the weekend. It was really good.
How was Shelters?
It was fantastic. I was thinking that we should start with Cheltenham, but as obviously the big story at the moment is the Premier League and it's Man United, I think we should probably start with football, shall we?
Yeah, so I think we agreed that the Mikel Arteta managerial first-to-go market was a little bit skewed, but the whole Solskjaer looked okay because they started fairly well, Manchester United. Now, there have obviously been developments since at other clubs, but the Solskjaer situation, by all accounts, he's 2 or 3 games to save his managerial role at Man United, and it was just a shambolic performance against Liverpool in a spiritual level as well as everything else, because Ronaldo should have been sent off, Pogba was sent off, and everyone else was a bit of a joke in between. What does it all mean in the managerial market?
Well, so we've actually got next Man United manager price up on site to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like you said, the next few games are going to be absolutely crucial to them. I was just trying to get the fixture list up just to see what Man United's fixture list looked like. So obviously they've got Spurs, who are woefully out of form as well, coming up this weekend. Then they've got City, and then they've got Watford, who are in decent nick as well. So, I mean, if he gets beat by Spurs and they get beat by City, what price do you make him to be gone? It's got to be odds on, isn't it?
Yeah, judging by the speculation, and the market's fascinating. Conte 4 to 6, Zizou 7.
Yeah, well, Conte was actually quite a bit bigger at the start of the week. When we first priced this up, Zidane was in there at favour around the 3 to 1 mark. Conte and Brendan Rodgers were both hovering around the 5 to 1 mark. And then it was Pochettino, and then you get out to 10.5. But now we are 4 to 6 Antonio Conte, 7 to 1 Zinedine Zidane, 8 to 1 Brendan Rodgers, Pochettino 10 to 1, and then 11 Bar. There's rumours out there that Zidane wouldn't want the job. Brendan Rodgers, I would imagine, is pretty happy where he is and probably wouldn't want to come halfway through the season anyway. Conte looks like the only viable option, to be honest. So that 4 to 6, I think is probably about right, to be honest. And like I just said, if they get beaten in their next 2 games, I mean, they should beat Spurs. Spurs aren't in great nick, but you just don't know how they're going to bounce out the game the other day against Liverpool. But then when they're going to face City, you'd think that they'll get beaten by City. I mean, if Liverpool were going to Old Trafford and doing that to Man United, what is City going to go and do? As a Liverpool fan, you must have just absolutely rejoiced in watching it, eh, Johnny?
Yeah, it was. In fairness, now there were some really good goals from Liverpool. I thought, Henderson's ball for Salah's last goal was just outrageous. Salah's the best player in the world for me at the moment, and his goal into the bottom corner, I thought, was absolute genius. There is a special on him to score 45 plus goals this season. Is now only a 6 to 1 shot, and that is in all competitions. And I know some people would have punted the 33s at what he scored in the next 6 games, but one of which is already out of the way.
That's correct. So only 5 more to go for him to break the Jamie Vardy record. So we have got loads of. I'm just having a look here at all of the player markers we've got on site, and Mo Salah seems to be jolly in every single one. When you look at top goal scorer now, 5 to 6, and then with 7 to 1 bar, that's Ronaldo and Lukaku. We've repriced our pair of aces market, so which pair will score the most goals? Mo Salah and James Ward-Prowse. I think that Mo Salah's back's probably home from carrying James Ward-Prowse within that pairing. They're 7 to 4, and then your 5 to 1 bar. Player of the year is now odds on Mo Salah into 5 to 6 to be player of the year. Was around the 15 to 8 mark for that before the weekend, and he's actually into 11 to 1 from 16 to win the Ballon d'Or.
Wow.
So he is surely enough for all of these markets. Just in terms of what the prices have done since the weekend, Liverpool 5 to 2 to win the league from 100 to 30. United out to 6 to 1 from 33. You'd have to be not even wanting to back that counterfeit, I'd imagine. 6 to 1, I wouldn't touch that. Man United to go and win the title. They've got so much to sort out. The other news story was obviously Steve Bruce going and we've got a next Newcastle manager market. We were really short Paolo Francesca. We were 2-on, but we're now 15-8, and Lucien Favre, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, is 5-2, and then you're 10-1 Bardo with Frank Lampard. So it looks like a 2-runner heat, but we were really short Francesca, and now we're not. So obviously some money has come in for the second favourite, Lucien Favre, to come in and take charge of Newcastle. So a couple of interesting spaces. I don't want to wish Ollie to go. I'm not one of those people. And actually, just to get your opinion on that, what's your opinion on the whole Gary Neville not wanting to out his mate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Yeah, like it's obviously he's a bit tainted now in terms of his analysis of the situation, and you know, although at the very least it's quite transparent that you know, he knows that, I'm sure in his heart of hearts he knows that he's probably not the right man for the job now, but I think you're kind of watching it, and you got to have that in the back of your mind. And he's had ample time, and some of the tactical stuff of late has been so bad. And it was speculated when Ronaldo got the job that this is going to cause problems for them, because you can't have 10 players, you can't have 9 outfield players pressing and 1 not anymore in the modern game. But at the same time, if you were to accommodate Ronaldo and to play the team that he did against Liverpool, I mean, it was absolutely ripe for picking off. And then when you've players of Ronaldo and Pogba's ilk behaving like spoiled brats on the pitch, you kind of wonder, has it gotten to the next level of not being retrieved?
I think as a fan of, I'm also not a fan of Man United, but I remember when Xhaka threw his shirt onto the floor for Arsenal, and I just lost all respect for him. I can't believe he's even kind of still playing for us. But when you have that, you have Ronaldo doing all of that, I'm assuming insinuating Ollie. And then you've got Pogba kind of smirking when he comes off from being sent off. It's just, as a fan, you just hate to see it. And it would make me lose completely respect for the players. Like I agree with
Scholes as well, in that he said Pogba should never play for them again. I don't think that was an exaggeration. I thought it was, for one thing, it was a disgraceful tackle. And secondly, if you're capable of doing that, it just goes to prove all the suspicions about your general kind of your general attitude towards the game and the club, because it was so out of order, and so as much as the game was lost, it was just a childish thing to do. And I know he's probably frustrated that he's not been accommodated maybe as best he can by Solskjaer, but I thought he really revealed himself.
Yeah, and let's not forget that he played a fairly pivotal role in Jose going, didn't he, as well, with the whole agent getting involved and all that good. So you wouldn't trust him as far as you could throw in. But that's football from the last week. Just in terms of in fact, no, let's move on to races. Probably best to move on to race now. We've spoken plenty about football. So Cheltenham from the weekend.
Yeah, how was Cheltenham?
Or any of it?
I was actually away, so I saw the big race at Doncaster, and I didn't see Cheltenham. I was away on a cycling kind of type holiday, so we were completely wrapped up the whole weekend. So I didn't see any of Cheltenham. So you'll have to fill me in on how I know some of the results were good, particularly on the Saturday.
Yeah, the Friday was an absolute nightmare. A day for the punters, 5 favourites going in. The other 2 races were won by an 11-4 second favourite, and then a 7-1 shot, but they bet 5 the field. So being on track was absolutely horrific. We did our money on the Friday. The one performance to take out the Friday was the Dan Skelton horse, third time lucky. Lay of the day for me, got it completely and utterly wrong. It's gone 14-1 for the Harcourt in March after his dominant chase display. I thought Chase debut at Cheltenham, got to be taking him on, and he absolutely sloshed up.
A couple of good novices in Britain at the moment. Now, the Irish ones, Envoy Len from last season, are we going to see maybe, I think Fernie Hollow's going novice chasing, trying to emulate Envoy Len as a novice last season, and it's early days of Ballyadam as well, but that's going to be a hell of an exciting division.
I would imagine so, and they're all starting to come out this weekend, aren't they? Looking at that card at Down Royal on Saturday, I mean, that card is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And we've actually got some of those races priced on site, namely the Champion Chase. Just having a look at the runners here. I mean, Manila Inda, obviously the Gold Cup winner coming back out. Galvin will have the Fitness Edge. Frodon coming out as well. It's nice to see. Paul Nichols sending one over. Delta Works in the race, Road to Respect coming back after a long layoff. So that's a fantastic race of the weekend. It feels like we're really getting into the swing of the jumps already. Normally you don't see these fantastic horses coming out for a couple of months, do you?
Did you retrieve the situation on Saturday is the question?
We did indeed. So to stop proceedings, we had, I think we had it was a amateur jockeys, novice hurdle, Samarive or Samurai for Paul Nicholls was the favourite there. On track, we actually laid 500 quid on Sam Dancer at 7-2. That was right at death, and when you're taking these bets, I mean, a monkey on course would be a decent sized bet. So we actually lost on the race on the track. It was a great ride by Liam Harrison. I thought actually he looks a really promising up and coming jockey, so one to keep an eye on. Riding Manny for the third low Brian Yard. I like to move. It was a great result for the firm in the Mastersons Holdings hurdle. A really smart performance. It could be a decent novice this year. Beat Tritonic, so a decent yardstick. I don't say yardstick, it sounds disrespectful, but a decent level of form there. And looked really green as well, so could improve for that. I actually mentioned before midnight during last week's trading chat, we saw some interesting money at 7-1. Actually,
2-1 gamble landed.
Yeah, exactly. 2-1, bolted out in front. Sam Thomas, great training performance. Just looks like a really, really good, genuine horse, and it will be a good horse to watch throughout the season. Loves to jump out in front. So one to kind of take forward. And then we had an interesting novice chase where Does He Know got the job done, but that was only, I think, because under supervision did his best to go out on another circuit. I think he will prove to be the best of them. A really expensive purchase, but he was a huge horse as well under supervision. So one to keep an eye on there. It brings that question about the railing at Cheltenham again. I know that they've for this meeting they've moved the rail further this way, but again, so many horses were looking to go out on another circuit. I'm not sure what they do with that Cheltenham, but during the festival they have people standing there and kind of waving the horses to keep going straight. But this time round, under supervision ran out, and then we had a couple of horses looking to do exactly the same thing. So hopefully they address that challenge. It's not great watching, to be honest. But that was a Saturday. We did recoup the losses, and it's whet the appetite for the jump season with some fantastic stuff to come this weekend. And the one race to come out from Doncaster was Luxembourg, who you're a massive fan of, Johnny.
Yeah, so he beat Sissoko, who had won a Curragh Maiden really impressively on his second start. But I think what Ryan Moore said afterwards at Luxembourg is probably it bears out if you watch it. He didn't get a great trip at all, so he had to kind of basically race in open air without cover on the far side, which he didn't do at all at the Curragh. He was basically put to sleep at the Curragh in the Beresford by Seamus Heffernan and just came there. But like he sort of, by the time he got to the front, he hadn't done any work and he just quickened away. Whereas this was a completely different race. He'd no cover and he basically had to pushed out a little bit to get to the front, and then maybe it slightly took its toll on him, but I thought it was a very good performance. I thought he was way better than the bare result, and he's obviously now, what are we talking, 3s or so for the Derby?
A little bit bigger than that. We are 4-1 for the Derby. We did lay a bit of 5s actually after the race. We went up with 5s, and then we've nipped him into 4-1. For the 2,000 guineas, 9-2, so slightly bigger price. He did look like a stayer. He just did absolutely nothing in frund, did he? I don't think. I think he just got to the front and then just stayed there. I thought it was really, really impressive, and I think he could probably go on to really big things next year. I'd prefer to be on native trail for the guineas, just because of trip base. I'm not even sure that Luxembourg will go there. I know they'll probably do a lot with him, but it would surprise me if they went staying races.
He might run the guineas, but like the way he raced at Doncaster, he's not a miler for next season. Definitely not.
No. I think exactly the same. So I would imagine Godolphin will have the strong hand in the guineas when he gets to the Derby, and he'll probably end up going to the Ledger as well. It would surprise me if they kind of went down that route. But he looks a really exciting horse next year. So yeah, 4-1 for the Derby for Luxembourg, and that's probably it on the jump race in front. We'll have all the we'll have all the Breeders' Cup markets up as well, because that is next week is the Breeders' Cup. So we'll have all of the races back inside by the time this goes out. We've had decks today, so give that a look. We've got loads of races up for the weekend. We've got the Charlie Hall this weekend, where Surname is your 11-10 favourite, Shamblue 100-30, Clondall Castle in there at 9-2. We've actually seen a bit of money for one, which I will mention in the Bet365 hurdle at Wetherby, and that's Run for Oscar. I don't know whether it's Charles Burns now or was ex-Charles Burns, but we saw money for that at 14 earlier. We're now 8. There's a little bit of 10s out there. That's a race where Paisley Park is 15-8 favourite and 3-1 Thomas Derby. But a bit of money there for Run for Oscar.
Still with Charles Burns, yeah. So interestingly enough, if he were to come over, and Yeah, what is he up to now? 144 over hurdles after that win at Le Sol. That was actually very good performance at Le Sol. It was a seriously good race, and he had 11-1 on his back and bolted up and was pretty well backed as well. Yeah, so he's an interesting horse, definitely progressing nicely.
It's getting £6 from a few of the ones that won't be race fit as well. So I thought that was a possible angle. So maybe a bit of juice still there at 8-1. We're a little bit under it because we've laid that money earlier on. And I see the firms have followed suit. I saw one firm who was 20 at the time when we laid it at 14 is now 9-2. So
there we go.
Yeah, some people have obviously been getting involved. And one more horse we've been laying for the weekend is in the Bateau London Gold Cup Handicap Chase. That's at Ascot. Vindication opened up at 4-1. We're now into 9-4. We laid a good bit of that to some so-called shrewdies. So they're obviously thinking of Vindication. Got decent form around Ascot. Goes well fresh. We'll be getting the job done there. So just a couple from the weekend to keep an eye on. We'll obviously update everyone next week how they got on. But we do see some interesting money kind of on the anti-post events, and they are usually ones to take note. Anyway, Johnny.
Indeed. So we've cricket, F1 and NFL to wrap up. We can start with NFL. Verstappen, and this is going to be, with Hamilton, it's going to be a hell of a race. They've just come off the radio, actually, where they're basically talking Formula One. It kind of wouldn't have had the interest in Ireland it had when I was growing up, when we had Eddie Irvine, Eddie Jordan, all that. But I think it's kind of coming back to a level of people getting interest in again. And how is the bet market going for this? Where's the book for Star Sports at this stage?
So in terms of the Formula One, I mean, it's all been shaken up at the weekend. When you talk about the support for Formula One, I think that's all come from the Drive to Survive documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
Quite a few people tweeting about it. Max Verstappen's actually come out and said that he's not going to be part of the new documentary. They tend to do like an episode on each team or each driver. He thinks that it creates rivalries where there isn't any, but it's similar to like the kind of Ryan Moore argument in racing when you say, well, he's not giving enough in interviews and stuff like that. It's a similar thing with Max Verstappen here. He's not obliged to, but you think he probably just should. Just in terms of the F1 with the offer, we do have a 5-second chance offer, which is get 50% of your stake back to free bet if your driver finishes second beaten under 5 seconds. You would have got that last week actually if you bet Hamilton, because Hamilton was second under 5 seconds.
Beautiful.
In terms of the championship, Max Verstappen now 4-9. He has shortened in all the way from 8 to 11 to win the drivers' championship, and Hamilton is out to 7-4 from 6-5. It's a difficult one to predict this year because they are typically, it's very easy to know what car's going to suit each track, but this year it just seems to have flip-flopped. Like you thought the Mercedes would have a great week in the US and they didn't. Typically you'd think that Mexico would have been one of the Red Bull tracks for next week, but you just don't know how it's going to go this year, to be honest. So it is hotting up really, really nicely. We do actually have race winner market for the Mexico Grand Prix. Verstappen would be 8-11, 15-8 Hamilton, 12-1 Perez, and then 20 Bar. So it's hotting up nicely, the Formula One. I've actually really enjoyed watching it. I used to like watching it back in the Pablo Montoya days and Fernando Alonso for Renault, and I was really big into it back then. I used to have the the 96 season on video, funnily enough.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Damon Hill won it that year potentially. So yeah, I do go back Formula One. I do quite like it, but I've only just got back into it recently, to be fair. But I'm really enjoying it. NFL, I won't talk too much because I'm absolutely clueless. But what I have been told is that Kansas City Chiefs out to 12-1 from 7 to win the Super Bowl.
Mahomes has gotten injured, hasn't he?
Oh well, there you go. You know much more than me. I know absolutely nothing, Johnny, to be honest with you. So out to 12 from 7 in the NFL. Plenty of NFL markets on site, and we do have the time and a half offer there as well. Just in terms of the Cricket World Cup, just to finish, the 2020 World Cup, that's been all over the tellies recently. Pakistan are favourites there at 5-2, England 11-4, 3-1 India, Australia are 13-2, and then you 14 Bar. We've got the group winners. We've got all of the top countries' batsmen and bowlers there. So we've got loads of markets on side there. JB and the guys have done a really good job there. So do have a look at that. That's obviously on every single day at the moment. England actually won this morning. We beat Bangladesh. So those markets are being updated in place. So do have a look. But that's it for this week. I'm looking forward to the rest of the week and this weekend. The racing looks top quality.
Yeah, he's Mahomes has suffered dislocated right kneecap, so we shall see what happens there. He did have a wobbly moment at the weekend. So it's been some fun times in the racing front. Down Royal coming back, and I suspect we won't have many more trader chats with Ollie at the wheel. There goes your lights. They're the lights on Ollie. There we go. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Have a good rest of the week, and we shall see you next week.
Thank you very much.